Hello and welcome back to the wild. Welcome to 2024 from myself and my co-producer Eric, and it's lovely to be back doing another review. And today's review is all about the Fujifilm X-H2, this wonderful camera body right here that I purchased around 4 months ago before I went gallivanting around, and it was fantastic. It performed amazingly and I love it, and that's why I'm doing this review right now. So I like to talk about the things I'm passionate about, and this is a passion. So on that note, this isn't a technical review. I don't do technical stuff. I find it boring. There's other people that explain it a lot better than I will. I will just send you to sleep. So this is just a user experience of how I found using the X-H2 for the last few months on my travels. So yeah, on that note, let's get talking. Yee! Okay, because I am a kind person, I'm going to start off with image quality of the X-H2, because this is what wowed me in the first place. This is why we're buying camera bodies. We want to know how they perform on their imagery and how they look and all this jazz. The X-H2 uses the exact same sensor of the X-T series, or the X-T5 I should say. Having that high resolution and that punchy sensor just gives you such beautiful images that you can zoom in on, where they're crisp, clear, sharp, brilliant. There's so much data behind an image that when you draw it into Lightroom, you just have so much to work with. It's really good. And even in low light, I've really found that you can have a lot of information behind your image, which is great. It's getting windy. So yes, the images are clear, crisp and beautiful. And I have to say, I went away with the X-H2 and the X-H2S, but I found myself, especially for landscape photography, wanting to pick up the X-H2 more, because I knew it had that oomph behind it and it had that really good quality of image that when I want to blow it up, or if I want to print my pictures out, I know you can get really good quality. So yeah, for me, the image quality is fantastic. And you also have the capability of the low ISO again. So you've got your low ISO matched with a really good sensor. It's just a win-win situation. The only caveat to having such a high resolution sensor is that on my X-H2S, my RAW files, I always shoot in RAW, my RAW files are around 50 to 56 megabytes per file. But on the X-H2, they are around a whopping 80, 86. So it is a big difference, but it's just something to bear in mind. But with that, you get extra details, extra quality behind your images and more information. And again, if you want to blow it up, you've got the capability to do that, knowing that it's good quality. So yes, overall for image quality, I was blown away by the X-H2, and I'm just so chuffed I have it. And it's just amazing, it really is. But I'll talk more in a minute in the build at why I bought it, and you'll see why, because of the build. Okay, so the next point I'm going to talk about is build and ease of use. And this is the reason why I purchased the X-H2, is because I already own the Fujifilm X-H2S, it's what I'm filming on right now. But the build of the X-H2 is exactly the same as the X-H2S. And for someone that does a lot of photography and filming, I wanted two cameras that I could use side by side to each other, where it be fluid, smooth, and I can transition easy between the two of them. This is the reason why I purchased the X-H2 over the X-T5. I wanted to use something alongside the X-H2S that will work smoothly, not confuse me, simple, and that's what it is. It's exactly the same. So I love on the X-H2, as you can see here, you have the custom dial set up right here, where I can put filming and photography at the click of a button and by just turning it. And I've also got all my function buttons on the back. I've swapped my dials, both of these ones, to my ISO and my shutter speed. It's simple, it's easy. Yes, it's quite heavy and bulky as a camera in itself. It's a lot bulkier than the X-T5 or the X-T series in general. It's quite a chunky camera, but again, I don't mind that. I find it solid, sturdy and well built. It's weather sealed and it's performed great in all conditions, in heat and in the cold. It's been fantastic, so I love it for that. It's really, really good. Just some of the little features to know the difference with the X-H2 and the X-T5. You have a dual system card on the X-H2, similar to the X-H2S. One is a CF Express card slot, one is a SD card slot. You have a fully articulated LCD screen. Again, something else I absolutely adore because I do a lot of self-portrait work, and having the capability to see myself if I'm doing videos or photos or vlogging is great. So again, I love this for both my photography camera and my filming camera. It works perfectly for me. You've got all the custom buttons as I mentioned, you've got this little screen on top, which I don't really use to be honest, and you've got your battery slot at the bottom, and I believe you can get a vertical battery grip as well for the X-H2, which I've not got because it'd be too big for me. In terms of battery life, I actually think it lasts a very long time. I've kept the same battery in for like a whole day shoot, and I've not had to change it if it's nothing strenuous. If I'm doing a lot of filming, then I will need to change batteries, but not too often. It's a good battery life on the camera. Just on a side note, with your electronic viewfinder, it's a really good one. I can't remember all the details. As I said, this isn't technical, but it's been fine. My vision is actually really good, so I don't think for any of my cameras I've used, I found an issue with the electronic viewfinder. The only thing I have struggled with the electronic viewfinder is nighttime photography, because it becomes very fuzzy and I can't see a thing. So maybe that's just myself. I haven't figured out the settings yet for all that, but that's the only time I do notice a difference, and when I struggle is with astrophotography. But apart from that, the electronic viewfinder is great. I can always get my focus fine. I can see very clearly what I'm shooting. And yeah, it's great. It's quick, it's responsive, and it matches also the natural live view setup as well. So it's all good, all good. Okay, so the next point I'm going to talk about is autofocus, because we love it. And the X-H2 has a hybrid autofocus system. You have the capability of zoned, wide, point and tracking autofocus. It has the capability of tracking, subject tracking, so you've got birds, dogs, cats, trains, planes, all these things, and human eye tracking. And from a personal perspective, I have not had an issue with the autofocus. And I know people have a question with Fujifilm stuff, like with the focus and the autofocus. I don't know, maybe because I haven't used anything else. For me, it works fine. I never have a problem. I don't miss my shots. My dog tracking's fine. I use it all the time for my vlogging. As you can see right now, the camera is tracking my eyes, it's tracking my movement, and it's always been fine. So I've never had a problem with it. But there is always a but. I have not tested the X-H2 yet for wildlife photography and the tracking for wildlife photography on this camera. So I will be doing a vlog come springtime. I normally go do puffin photography or seabird photography, and I will do this. It'll just be out later on because I don't have a telephoto lens right now and I also don't have anything to shoot. So come summer, summertime, I will do another review of the autofocus for wildlife photography, specifically with the X-H2. I already have one for the X-H2S, which is on my blogs and things, but yeah, I'll be bringing one out in the future, so keep an eye out. So that is the question mark area still for wildlife photography, but bear with me, I'll do that in the future. But overall for autofocus, I haven't had an issue, and that's just me. I do a lot of self-portrait work, I do a lot of photos of my dogs or other subjects, and for me, it's never been a problem. So for me, autofocus works really, really well. Okay, before I freeze, I have to be quick because it's really cold. I normally do my reviews outside if you've watched my other stuff, but it's been really bad weather and cold lately, but I was just like, no, I want to do it outside. This is wild and free. I'm not wild and free inside, so I'm doing this in the cold so I can provide something outside. So the next point I'm going to talk about is filming. And filming on the X-H2 is fantastic, but there is a difference between the X-H2 and the X-H2S, what I'm filming on right now. My X-H2S is my predominant filming camera. It's my beauty, it's the queen for my filming, and the X-H2 is the baby sister. And I say this because yes, you can do 8K filming on the X-H2. You can do 6.2K and 4K, and they are all beautiful. I have examples I can show you of different style of filming in all those settings. Mainly in airflog, but also in the film simulation stuff, which is fine, it's done great. But the biggest difference for me, personally, is when I shoot in 4K at 5 times slower on the X-H2. On the X-H2, you can do 5 times slower, sorry, in full HD, not in 4K. And that was a big difference for me. Someone that does cinematography and YouTube, that's what I wanted, to have that punch in my filming. But it doesn't mean that it's not great on the X-H2, it's just different. You just notice a slight tweak, which I'll show you what I mean. And the only other issue I found with the X-H2 was when I filmed in either 30 frames or 24 frames, just at normal handheld speed, not in slow motion, it kind of would judder a little bit when I moved. There was kind of a slight notice of a judder. I don't know what it is. I was having a conversation with someone about this. I don't know what it is, but I just noticed if I do panning, this panning motion, it would judder just a little bit. But again, it depends what you're going to use the X-H2 for. For me, mainly it's for photography, so it's not a problem. And I do normal frame speed filming on a tripod when it's fantastic. If I had a gimbal, I don't think it'd be a problem. I don't have a gimbal, but for filming, it's been great, it has. It's just my main filming camera is the X-H2S. This does some B-roll and some additional stuff. And 8K filming, again, it's fantastic. On a tripod, all that, but just with hand stuff, I struggled. So maybe I need a gimbal. Anyone wants to let me lend a gimbal, let me know. I don't have one. I'd love to try one and maybe it'll make a difference. But yeah, I'll give you some examples of filming of all the different settings I've done and just some random bits here and there and just some really cinematic stuff I got in full HD with it at 5 times slower because it did do a beautiful job as well. But enjoy and you'll see what I mean, but I hope you enjoy it anyway. Yes. Okay, so the next point I'm going to talk about is performance, shooting modes, and speed. So I like to normally shoot with the X-H2 with a low burst mode, such as like 5 frames per second. When I'm handheld, I just like to go tuk, 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 tuk. Then I can take a couple of shots just for a moment, just to make sure I don't miss something. But I don't keep my hand on the trigger like an Uzi, like I just like to shoot with a low burst mode. I have to say the X-H2 works smoothly, clearly, it's not laggy, it's fine. It works really, really well. And you can hear it's like, it's got such a nice little to it. The great thing about the X-H2 is it has the capability to shoot in some extremely fast shutter speeds, which is brilliant and fantastic. And not only that, coupled with this, you have some very fast burst modes as well. You can shoot up to 20 frames per second in your electronic shutter. This will be cropped, and I have tested this so far just with normal stuff, and it seems pretty smooth and reliable. It doesn't lag and it doesn't take too long with the buffer speed to catch up. And this is an issue I had with the X-T5 because I think my SD card was too slow for this writing speed onto the SD card itself. But with the CF Express, you've got that faster pace writing speed. It's just what I've noticed, in my opinion of it anyway. But the caveat is, I always have a caveat, I haven't tested this with like that maximum shutter speed, which is like crazy numbers, and that high burst mode as well, because I imagine with the two coupled you would eventually get a bit of lagging, which is fine. And I've also not tested this with high pace wildlife photography. It's something I want to do as well. So keep an eye out in the future, because I will be doing like puffin photography later on in the year, and I can really test this on the X-H2 to make sure it works fine and just to see how it performs. So I will be doing that. But overall, the performance has been great. I've not had an issue with overheating or the camera just crashing or anything like that. It's been really, really good. And the other thing is as well, with low exposure speeds, I really like the fact that on the X-H2 and the X-H2S, you can set the low exposure to like 15 minutes before you have to go into bulb mode. and I've been doing some astrophotography as well, and it's performed great as well, which I've got really good examples of. So both your fast shutter speed and your slow shutter speed is great. You've got bulb, but you can also just set a timer and leave the camera alone without having to have a trigger, which is great. Really great. Okay, last points, the summary before I freeze. Eric has gone and just left me in the cold. He's not even bothered. He's like, you decided this, you can stay in the cold. So just to summarize my experience with the X-H2, I think it is a fantastic camera. I've really enjoyed using it. I think it's fun, it's reliable, it's a power horse, or a powerhouse, I can't remember the correct term. And it works fantastically alongside the X-H2S. And that was the main reason I purchased it, is because I wanted a camera I can use alongside my other camera and have this like clear setup for the both of them. I can transition between the cameras, no problem. I transition like butter. It's smooth, it's so nice. Yes, it's cost me a small fortune, but I'm hoping it will last me for quite some years. My last camera I used for like 3 years, and I'm hoping these will last a lot longer than that. If you have the X-T3, the X-H2S, X-H2, let me know your thoughts. I'd be interested to see what you think and how you enjoy using them and what you enjoy using them for. But on that note, I'm gonna go because my hands are so cold and I'm freezing, and this is what happens when you stand in the wild. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask, and I will do my best to answer everything. Okay, anyway, stay you, stay awesome, stay wild and cold and free. And until next time, you incredible people, goodbye for now. Bye-bye. I still have a place inside your heart, which is something to remember. I don't know why, it just is. Oh, I can see a kite. Eric, I can see a kite. What else do I want to say, Eric? Where have you gone? So, on that note, let's get talking. Why am I doing that face? What else I want to say, guys? Because I always forget. I can't remember what I wanted to say now. Where are we? A very special new year. If the X-T3 and the X-H2S had a baby, it would be the X-H2. And a very happy new year from Eric here, my co-producer. Easily, unanimously, no, that's not the right word. I'm getting so cold. You could probably tell. I'm like, so it's fine. I'm just so excited to talk about the X-H2. Next point.